talk show. Hello, hello, hello.
Hey there.
It's the Chatty Patty Pala talk show.
We will talk about the things that mean so much to you, like going to a restaurant or hanging at the zoo. Clothes and sports and funny news, crafts and travel too. Nothing ever scripted, so expect the unexpected.
Hello, hello,
Buenos dias.
hello.
Aloha.
It's the Chatty Patty Pala talk show. It's the Chatty Patty Pala talk show. It's the Chatty Patty Pala talk show.
Hi, welcome to our show. It's Tuesday, May 14th, 2019, episode 84. I'm Chatty Patty.
I'm Paulawala.
And our special guest today, of course that camera isn't working, is publicist Matt Lee.
Uh-oh.
Come on, let me
I got a break here.
Everyone's dying to see Matt's face.
Oh, boy.
But
We're having technical difficulties
Yeah, I know.
already.
Perfect.
I know, it is perfect.
Should I go get help?
No, it's fine because it's just delayed. But, so Matt, you work in Detroit as a publicist.
I do.
Tell us what... No, don't, Paula. Tell us a little bit like what a typical week is like for you.
Well, mostly we help people tell their stories. I work in mostly arts and entertainment, A&E type of stuff, but I'm mostly just a mechanic. All I do is take somebody's art, their music, a restaurant, an event, and help put it out there and help people amplify their vision of what they're doing. So I really consider myself just a mechanic. I take somebody else's stuff and put it out there.
All right, well, so yeah, like I said, my camera's frozen, but
Good.
You planned that before you got here.
you
didn't
did. He's shy for
I
being
know.
on screen. All right, so
Kicking cords under the desk.
so are you on call 24/7?
It depends. No, it's pretty laissez-faire. It depends on the project. It's like anything else. Some people are more high maintenance. Some stuff requires more work than others. Not much different than anybody else's job.
Who are the high maintenance ones?
Oh, come on.
I'm not kidding.
All of them, if you're doing it right.
Well, so, like, what are all the different aspects of being a publicist? You know, because obviously I think of, like, you know, when something bad happened and you got to, like, twist the story.
Well, that's crisis management stuff. I'm mostly an arts and entertainment publicist, so I function in, like, the toy department of what the news
The
business
hippie stuff.
Right, what the news business is. So mostly what we
There
do is we just find the story behind the subject and the person we're working with. That's the important thing you do. Again, it's different every time, and it depends on the project. It depends on the individual.
So being a publicist, then you have to be a good writer.
You have to have two things will get you really far. Excellent communication skills, both written and verbal, are real helpful, and acute attention to detail.
I was just going to say attention to detail, but not acute, yes.
Those two things. And I think that one of the most, the biggest thing that people think that is mostly based on schmoozing and stuff like that, but mostly it's just the exchange of good information. I mean, what you're trying to do is frame something, you pitch people, you try to get people in the media interested in something, so it's all in the pitch. The pitch is everything. Trying to succinctly let somebody know where an artist is at. That's what we do.
That's what I do, like, to get guests on the show, is I just tell them that it's the coolest show in the world, and I will not take no for
It
an
is pretty
answer.
cool. I'm
So
a fan. I'm a
Are
fan.
you really?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've watched a lot of episodes?
Thanks.
Yeah, and a lot of my friends have been on.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
and-
probably
and-
know most of our guests.
I know a lot of them. Yeah, it's a pretty small musical community, and then some of the ones I've gotten to know them better from watching your show, and that's all really what we try to do every day. So, and also the coolest thing about this show is you're on for 30 minutes. There's not a lot of long form opportunities where people talk anymore. Everything's a soundbite. Everything's
Right.
an elevator. conversation. Everything's a quick thing.
Yeah, we
so,
have mistakes. We keep the mistakes.
but no, to
included.
stretch out a little bit is a really good thing, because when I put somebody on conventional morning TV, it's usually a 3 or 4 minute segment, winner take all, and that doesn't give you a lot of time for detail.
No, and I've been on those 3 or 4 minute segments, and then you're done, and you're like, oh, why didn't I do this or that? Like, shoot.
You regrets,
I
right?
forgot to wear that scarf.
So here the opposite is true. You say, why did I do this?
We go on and on.
All right. So also, Matt, what was like the career path or the path that got you into being a publicist?
Well,
like, how did this all
I
happen?
don't know what else I do. I mean, it was really
Were you just hanging out at the right place
was
at
an
the right
outgrowth
time?
of that. No, I played music for years and years in an R&B band called the Suspects. We toured, and there were 9 of us. We never really made much money, but it really did prepare me for everything that I do today. So I'm glad I did it. No, I never thought. I lived in New York for years and years. I had a music merchandising job. I come back. I was helping run a record store off the record in Royal Oak.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who owned it had a toy soldier company. He said,
And doll shop?
well, yeah, but figures, toy soldiers. and
okay,
figures.
okay.
And he wanted to do a toy soldier show. And he said, hey, why don't you see if you can give me some publicity? And man, this was like 22, 23 years ago. It was much easier back then. Budgets were bigger. Media was the whole.
A lot of print media.
Right,
That's going away.
Attrition in media is just it's like sooner or later one person is going to be writing everything.
I know.
I mean, it really is like
Or
that.
the computer's going to write it.
So anyway, he said, I'm having this toy soldier show in Ann Arbor. Can you give me some media? And maybe it was beginner's luck, but I did really pretty good. And then the light bulb went off in my head. I said, hey, I can do this. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's cool.
Mostly I started with the music stuff. Then I got into more events. Then we did food. And mostly it's about 50% arts and entertainment. But now I do other stuff too. The Wyandotte Downtown Development. I work for Warren Consolidated Schools. I work for the jazz department at MSU. Lately I've done some things for U of M Dearborn.
You're all over the place, man.
I try.
Do you have any signature tricks that really work for you that
Yeah,
there really are none. Like I say, it's mostly based on the exchange of good information. Also, when you have retained accounts, I do all the stuff for the Motor City, the casino, the soundboard at the Motor City. So I advance all their shows there. So you're going to the same well so many times, but with different artists. So there really are no tricks to it. What you're trying to do is give them the edge and let people know these shows are coming. And mostly it's, like I say, predicated on the exchange of good information. I hope.
the right information.
One hopes.
Too.
The truth.
I just thought you worked for Supino's because every time I go there, I see you at Supino's Pizza.
He's a friend. I just eat there.
They have the best pizza.
I think there's two great. I lived in New York 6 years, so it's the pizza capital of the world. But the best.
Detroit is the pizza capital of the world.
The best. The two best New York quality places are Supino's and then Tomato over in Birmingham, and that's very good.
I need to try that.
Well, tell us what took you to New York and how that affected who you are today.
My band broke up, and I wanted to be close to the art that I loved, and I caught the tail end of it between 90 and 96, where you could really just see a lot of music and listen to music 24/7 and go to a lot of events. I always thought it was the center, the center of everything. So.
And that was when, in the 80s, when Times Square was a mess, right?
Right. Well, this was right after that.
Also
I was there
super fun.
from 90 to 96, right pre-Rudy Giuliani. I lived in the Alphabets when the Alphabets were still, Alphabet City. Now it's all gentrified.
Yeah.
Hell's Kitchen.
You can do they call it Clinton now.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what they call it. Like the Cass Corridor is now Midtown.
Yeah.
Big difference.
And boy, that has changed. The rebirth of Detroit. What do you think of all that?
Well, there's more pluses than minuses. Certainly, it's helped me. For years, I did worked for the Detroit 300 and did all the parks down there: Campus Martius Park, Cadillac Square, Grand Circus Park.
Well, it was
and,
easier then because there wasn't as much to promote.
Yeah, I think the job's pretty much done. I mean, again, the only thing about gentrification, of course, is a lot of good people who were there initially seem to get pushed out.
I know.
That's the only the negative, you know.
People say it's losing its grit, but you can make grit anywhere.
Well, when you look at now, the mean is $1,500 a month for 1,000 square feet, and now it's up to 16 or 17. That kind of prices it out of the market of regular folks.
So what do you find to be the most valuable form of media today in Detroit? And, what is your experience? What do you think of radio versus television? Well,
I mostly do conventional media stuff, but now it all goes, whatever I do, goes on the web. 20 years ago when I did this, who wants to play rock and roll at 8 a.m., who wants to listen to it? I'm pretty sure that's something I did last week in the morning. I hope somebody's watching it right now.
But that's
if
not
they're
enough.
Not watching you.
Just the web isn't enough, right?
Right, but what happens is conventional media all is stored on the internet because people get their news different. You guys,
timely,
right?
all...
And most people, especially younger people, don't watch stuff in real time, so it's mostly stored up. Podcasting is big, but typically all the stuff I do ends up on there: radio, TV, and print.
I know most of our fans watch at midnight.
Yeah.
So,
really?
I don't know.
It's good.
Or when they're sick.
Yeah.
When they're sick in bed and there's nothing else to do.
Well, I told Patty, what do you think of this idea of us having a Chatty Patty Palawala Talk-a-thon?
Oh, I think it's great.
We could have 48 straight hours of episodes.
You could be at the end like Jerry Lewis. You can sing and you'll never walk alone.
We'll answer the phones. We could. Oh my gosh, we could do that. Like raise money for a charity and answer the phones and be really tired and smoke cigarettes. And,
oh yeah.
like
I'll
Jerry
forget
Lewis
that
with his
part.
shirt all undone.
So you've seen a lot of musicians play and perform live. What are some of your favorite venues in Detroit?
Well, I tend to gravitate towards the old school ones. Let's take the ones I work for off the table. But I saw so many great shows going back. I remember at the Michigan Palace, where Eminem did the video, which is now a parking garage. I saw so many tremendous shows there. I saw Sly and the Family Stone there. I was 17. I always talk about this one show, the original Little Feat with Lowell George, the original Weather Report, and Taj Mahal's reggae band. The Palace was a great place to go, $7, and then when it up to $8 to see a show, we were horrified.
Now it'd be $49.50.
Yeah. Kobo was great. We all saw our first show there. First one I ever saw was, I tell my kid, I saw Neil Young, and it cost $7.
Oh my gosh.
$7.50, or Jethro Tull for $6.50.
Black and Blue show for me.
Black and Blue?
Black Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult.
That was a big night,
That
huh?
was a good one, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Masonic Temple was always a wonderful venue too.
And still is.
Yeah. I wish they'd book more stuff that I want to see, but with age, the older you get, it seems the less
Your
stuff.
people are going to smaller venues probably now.
Less stuff you're interested in too. I mean, I'm interested in all forms of American music, like from 1930 to...
I just like a venue with no traffic jam and easy exit.
Yeah, well,
Well, you know what we do now? We park somewhere else, like at the old Miami, and have a cocktail, and then just Uber to the venue.
That's a good idea.
really?
Then you just get dropped off at the front door.
Well, and it depends. I've yet to see a concert at the Pizza Dome, though. I haven't been to
either.
Little Caesars yet. I'm waiting sooner or later.
It's not that
sometime.
exciting,
Yeah,
It's-
sooner or later.
it's
I've
fine.
Seen,
It's fine.
Well, that's the cookie cutter design of all venues of this nature with the bowl, and they're all like that. Yeah, it is.
I just don't really want to see that many people that are at LCA anyway.
What about some groups that you have worked with, like Alberta Adams?
My favorite of all time.
That's what you mentioned.
Yeah, I loved her. She was our queen of the blues. And I would tell rock bands later on, I'd say, if you could learn how to communicate with an audience like this lady does, you really might have something there. There was nobody like her.
What was so special about her? Was it her
Just everything.
her singing or her?
She was such a wonderful singer. When you listen to her early recordings, just fantastic. Pre-Motown. And she started as a dancer. Back then, before TV, before Milton Berle, you'd go to a club. There'd be a band, 8 or 9 piece band, a tap dancer, a comedian, a singer. There were all featured shows. She showed up one night, and the singer didn't show up, and she told the guy she was the club owner. I can sing, and she sang a couple songs, and the rest is history. And just the kind of person she was great. She was the literal meaning of stepchild. She came up here from a family in Indiana. She was an adopted by a family, and they were already had 7 kids when she got there. She told me once, I didn't get nothing but the crumbs from the cornbread and the juice from the green. She said that I knew I had to be an entertainer. I had to be somebody. But just her broadly inclusive way, and she knew everybody. You talk about certain people. Jackie Wilson, I taught that boy, he did not know how to make an entrance. I taught him how to get on and off stage. Just the breadth and scope of what she saw.
She was like the godmother of.
Yeah, she sounds like a great lady. How did she find you?
I've done so well with R.J. Spangler. He'd be a great guy for you to have on the show. He's got to be the foremost revivalist of rhythm and blues talent in our town. I mean, what he did for people like her, Johnny Bassett, another one of my favorites, the Motor City R&B pioneers, all kinds of people, taking these people and restarting their careers with something. So I found her through him, and it was one of my again, one of the great pleasures of my life was working with her.
Yeah, so we're talking about Alberta Adams. And how far did she travel? Was she performing all over the United States?
She did. She didn't like to fly, so that made her. She did not like to fly. So yeah, but she did pretty well, and right up until we weren't sure how old she was when she died because she had a couple different birth certificates, but she was in her 90s.
I read she was 97.
It could be. I couldn't say for sure, but I just loved her.
Somewhere up there.
I just loved her.
Okay, and so you also, some other performers, Johnny Bassett.
The best. Unquestionably the greatest pure blues guitar player ever to come out of Detroit. And a fantastic guy, too. Just they call him the gentleman of the blues, and he really was. And unlike a lot of blues players, you could sit there and listen to him for a month. Would not play a rock and roll lick. That was just not in his repertoire. He was a stone blues player, and just the best there is. One time he was opening for Buddy Guy at Hill Auditorium in Ann Arbor, and Buddy said to his band, he goes, that's the way guys really used to play it. Loved him. The best.
Well, back in the in the 80s, the blues, I was going to a lot of blues shows myself. Paul and I have been talking about how jazz is making a big comeback in Detroit, but that they have a lot of blues and jazz, they have a lot in common, right?
Well, it's it all comes from yeah, of course. And what they say, the blues had a baby and they named it rock and roll. But it's all good, American music. They call it roots music. They call it a lot of.
Because you work on the Jazz Fest, right?
I do. I've been with the Detroit Jazz Festival for years and years.
I love that festival.
Yeah, it's got to be the signature cultural event of our city, and I just love doing it.
It's kind of cool. It's the same. Isn't it the same weekend as the techno?
No, the
Techno
techno
Memorial.
Right. One starts the summer,
Memorial
one ends
Day,
the summer.
Right. And it's on Labor Day, and I used to go with my dad every year, and I never dreamed that I'd be representing them and doing it. It's just been fantastic. It's the largest free jazz festival in the world. In other words, nobody puts on more.
That's
I'm
exciting.
glad that it's here.
It's incredible. Nobody puts more. And when you have it in other cities, these are paid events. Here, everything's free.
Yeah.
And
And I'm always torn because I like the Hamtramck Festival too, that good old down and dirty fest. So I try to hit all of them. and Arts Beats and Eats, they get some good acts in there.
There was a couple years in a row where I did them both.
Oh.
I did the media for both of it. It was challenging.
You had a helicopter?
And then, well, no, mostly we advanced the stuff, and with the Jazz Fest, it's such a huge thing. You're there every day because there's on-site coverage, but mostly I advance these events and let people know about them, and let people know they're coming and what they're going to see.
Well, you do a good job because we know it's coming. It's already on my calendar.
It's something that big. It comes from a lot of different ways. But mostly, the distinction between PR, which I do, we call it earned media, and paid media, something that big, there's all kinds of stuff happening.
Where do you put up all the artists that are coming into town? Is that like your response? That's not your responsibility.
No, I just advance it. There's artist relations do that, but they stay at the Marriott.
Of course.
They stay at the Marriott, and every year there's a deal with a hotel. But it's just to get the artists in and out. It's the artist relations. It's very complicated ordeal.
Well, you also worked with the Four Tops. Did you meet them on the road, or
I knew him when I knew him as a musician. I did a little horn contracting them because I had played in a horn band called the Suspects, and I knew a lot of horn players. So back 30 years ago, I did some horn contracting. We became friends then. So when I became a publicist, they were looking for somebody, and it's been another association I'm so proud of because they really were the only big Motown group that stayed here. Everybody, the mass exodus around 72, they all went to L.A. pretty much, but the Tops stayed in town. In fact,
did they say why?
Oh, I think they thought that was the entertainment center, and they thought that they had taken it as far as they could here, for better or for worse. But the Tops all stayed in Detroit. And in fact,
no, I mean, why did they stay in Detroit? Did they ever?
I think they're Detroit guys, and it just never occurred to them. Yeah, it just never occurred to them. I think that
why would we?
it didn't make sense for them. In fact, during the Reagan years, I don't know the exact year, but there was one new house was built in Detroit. In the whole year, it might have been, I want to say 86, 87. And that one house was the house that Duke Fakir lives in to this day. One permit was pulled in the entire city for that year to build a new house, and it was his.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. Yeah.
Well, you're also a collector of antique radios.
Tell
us what you have here.
Oh, this is my favorite. I have hundreds of old radios, mostly wood, some plastic. I've loved them. I think maybe the thing I like best about them is here's a medium that they've tried to kill forever, for over 100 years.
I still listen to the radio.
Right.
I do.
And I think even with the internet age, there's still, a demand for AM and FM radios. So I think it's a medium, but I just love the beauty of the cabinets. This one here is a Detrola. It was made in Detroit, Detrola. And it was on Southwest Side over on Beard Street. And they made hundreds of different most beautiful cabinet designs.
It's like furniture.
Right, you're right. The cabinets, and I have big ones and small ones, and I just love them. I've collected them for, I don't know, probably 30 years now. I don't get as many, and they're harder to get now than they used to be.
Because the collectors are hanging on to them. Well, I brought a radio that I would like to show you.
Okay.
It's works too.
Okay.
My kids got this, and it actually. And it's got scan.
Very cool.
We'll show it to the.
Do you want to trade?
Oh yeah, right.
No.
No.
But one time my dog picked this up because she loves stuffed animals, and it went on and like this. I remember it was a Soundgarden song on really loud because she must have bit the volume button, and it scared the bejesus out of her, and she just ran. So yeah that's.
Can you put that in the washing machine?
No.
And not all of mine work. Some do, some don't. I used to restore them. I don't do it as much anymore because you got one AM radio that works. How many you need? But I just.
Does this have tubes in it?
Yes. All my radios have tubes. None of them are solid state.
So they're like little amp tubes, like a little guitar amp tube, like just little tubes.
just vacuum tubes. vacuum tubes, and there's
So in
a
your
co-
spare time, you're cruising eBay looking for old radios?
Not so much. I used to do that. Once I became a dad, then your priorities change and shift. And when we adopted my kid 16 years ago, I less time for that. I do see them sometimes at flea markets, and then a lot of people know that I like them and that I like the certain brand Detrolas, so sometimes they'll bring them to me or say, hey, there's one here. But I'm not as active pursuing it as I used to be.
And what do you know about Detrola? When did you say they shut down?
I don't know when they shut down, but they made wonderful radios in the 30s, 40s, and 50s over on Beard Street in Southwest Detroit.
Yeah, wow.
Do you go to Northern TV?
Yes, I do.
He was on our show. Mike Shepard was on our show a few weeks ago.
And James works
James
there,
works
too.
there too, yeah.
Well, I did notice the electrical cord could use a replacement,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That doesn't
But
look very safe.
Yeah, this one would probably work, but we won't plug it in now.
No.
Would it devalue it if you replace the cord?
No, to restore them, to get them up to speed and to work doesn't devalue them at all. Sometimes if you mess around too much with the cabinet, that devalues them. So if something's marginal or just a little scuffed up, we keep it like it is, and it's just the character of the.
So
It's
can you fix it?
Not the electronics. I used to work on the cabinets, but there's some specialists, couple guys in town who are really, really good at it.
Yeah, probably at Northern.
I wonder
Oh, yeah,
what
they
I wonder
do it
what
over
this
there.
little baby's story is.
Yeah.
Do you think this was in someone's living room and they gathered around and listened to baseball,
you
or
always wonder, but when
because it's kind of small?
when people come over and see my radios, they say, "Oh, my aunt had one of those, or my grandma had one of those, or one that looked like that." It's just it brings back a lot of memories. It's just before TV, people would gather around the radio, and it was the focal point of the whole house.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe it'd be on someone's bedside, but I
I
don't know.
remember our old radios at home. I wish we still had it.
I don't. I remember transistor radios. I thought I was cool with the transistor radio.
Yeah, I wish I had your old radios.
We had a cool one. It was like a rectangular one, and it had some push buttons on it that were like a white plastic, but it was a wood cabinet. You probably have one. I have to come over and look. And
I got hundreds of them.
Maybe you have that radio.
I have
My mom's
a
radio.
lot of them.
Well, I'm thinking, is there any gossip you could tell us?
Oh, jeez.
But I guess not, right?
No.
Well, I mean, things happen. I was sitting at my brother's house. We were having something to eat. Earlier in the evening, there might have been marijuana involved. I'm not sure.
It's legal.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I get a call, and the woman says, "Mr. Cosby wants to talk to you." And typically, this is true. Typically, our interaction with people, usually publicists or buffers, you arrange something. Back in the day, and this is when Bill was coming to Detroit a lot and telling people with the school system and telling people how he thought they should behave. We didn't know anything that eventually what would happen. So what should have been a 5-minute conversation turned into a 25-minute diatribe about personal responsibility and how people here in Detroit should comport themselves.
Him lecturing you?
Well, generally consistent with his message back then, and he micromanaged all his stuff. He saw something in the Free Press that he didn't like, a blurb item, and I had scheduled some interviews for him, and he didn't want to talk to a certain writer who he saw wrote something. This is very uncommon that I would have direct interaction with any of the artists before they get to town unless I'm doing something with them.
Okay, right, because I do remember him being at Kobo and speaking or
Right,
something.
this is right around that time,
Yeah.
and we ended up, I couldn't believe I was talking to him, and then, and back then, this has got to be 10, 15 years ago. This is before everything went down and that we didn't.
Well, I have good news, Matt. It's over. We're done. Thank you for watching another episode of the
I had
Chatty
so much
Patty.
fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here. You were great. Chatty Patty.
Palo Alto
Talk Show.
Hello, hello, hello. It's the Chatty Patty Palo Alto Talk Show. Hello, hello, hello.